Hey guys, JD and Scott. We realized we left a bunch of stuff out yesterday, so and one major faux pas. Rest in peace, Scott. Craig Boudreaux. Yeah, he was he went to boot camp with us, and he was the they called him the redneck from Texas. They always used to tease him. He was one of the grown-ups in the platoon. He was like 23 or 24, and
absolutely great guy, great personality, always smiling. Yeah, he was wonderful.
Great guy, and I think the DIs and the officers respected him because he was a grown-up. You know, him and I were kids, but he was 23, 24. Grown man, and you know, they got the respect. They teased him, they needled him. The joke was, where are you, boy, redneck? Where are you from, boy? Texas. And they would mess with him with that, and they brought him before the DIs. Hey, what are you, boy? Redneck, sir. Where are you from? Texas. And then I think the DI or one of the officers, he corrected, said, "You're a raghead from bumfuck Egypt." Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
He made him. He goes, "Where are you from?" He goes, "Who are you, boy?" "Raghead, sir." "Where are you from?" "Bumfuck Egypt, sir." But anyway, he was a retired sheriff. He retired, I believe he was 53, 54, and he succumbed to COVID. Great dude. He was my friend on Facebook. We traded a lot of stories. So anyway, without further ado, Craig Boudreaux, we toast you. Platoon 3058, hoorah.
Till Valhalla.
To kill you, by the way.
Now, I hadn't thought about this, but I'm going to touch on that because you just reminded me of something. So, I was the head secretary or the head scribe. I would do a lot of the paperwork for the drill instructors, made training cards, did the morning reports, and so forth. We had a drill instructor that had come over from his sister platoon, and he was visiting our drill instructors, talking about whatever in the duty hut. So I run up to the duty hut, pound on the hatch 3 times like you're supposed to, and I hear drill instructors, "The fuck do you want?" So I'm yelling, "Sir, Private Recce requests permission to enter the duty hut, sir." They give me permission to come in. I come in, tell them what I'm there for. I'm looking for some paperwork from, I think, the morning reports, and I'm going through it, and this drill instructor from his sister platoon stands there and he goes, "You got a southern accent." Now, when you have drill instructors from other platoons there and you have your drill instructor, you do not do what they say, because that shows non-loyalty to your drill instructors. So I didn't say anything, and then Sergeant Hipple said, "You can answer him." So I'm like, "Sir, yes, sir." And he goes, "Where are you from?" "Sir, the private's from Texas, sir." Well, he gave me the whole steers and queers. And at that point in time, he was saying, everything from Texas, steers and queers, you don't have any horns. So I thought I'd be funny. And he said, "Is that all there is in Texas?" And I said, "No, sir, kick them all out, send them to San Francisco, sir." Well, that backfired on me. I thought I was being funny, trying to be tough guy. Everybody in the duty hut except him starts laughing. And he goes, "You know where I'm from, boy?" I was like, "Sir, San Francisco, sir?" "Yeah, get out there in that sand pit." Of course, I stood there. And then Sergeant Hipple, I still can't believe he did this to me, but Sergeant Hipple said, "Go ahead." That drill instructor took me out in the sand pit that night and thrashed the ever living shit out of me for that. But either way, I got the whole steers and queers crap and paid a heavy duty price for it. I came back in, had to take another shower.
This popped into my head. So we had you had your senior drill instructor. He was supposed to be the good guy, like, you know, the more polished one. Then you had the hard hat that was Sergeant Summers. And I don't really know where Barrett fell in. But Sergeant Barrett was an 0331, that's a machine gunner. He's about 6'3", 6'4", about 220. If you look in the
Big guy.
dictionary under the word Marine, you see his fucking picture.
Yeah.
You absolutely see his picture. And I had the misfortune of having my belt too long. I believe it was you're only supposed to have 2 inches on your belt. Do you remember with the regulation, the length on the, you know, like when you buckle your belt?
Regulation's 2 to 6.
Well, yeah, mine was either too short, too long. So this is like when they could touch you. They didn't hit us, but they occasionally, I don't want to use the word rough us up because that's like kind of a little bit harsh, but they were physical with us.
Yeah, yeah.
He put his foot on my midsection, grabbed the end of my belt, and it had one of those little, like the 2 loops where you pull it through and it snugs. It's like a webbing. Put his foot there, and I went from a 32-inch waist to about a 26-inch waist in about a second. I looked like a sausage tied in the middle. That was funny. That was really funny. I hope he enjoyed that.
I can tell you what, you go through boot camp, none of it's funny at the time, just about. After boot camp, it's absolutely hilarious.
And it's funny, they say shit and you want to laugh, but you're afraid if you laugh you'll get in trouble. Sergeant Summers with the heavy hat, he'd say some shit, and it's so hard to keep a straight face. This guy named Fierce, blonde-headed guy, and I'm not being derogatory because we had several bedwetters. And you know, you go from living with mom and dad to the shock of suddenly being with 84 other guys, you know, and then people yelling at you. It affects you emotionally, whatever. And he started wetting the bed.
Yeah, you have culture shock. Do you remember in the very beginning we had people talking about how long it had been since they had taken a crap? They were like, it's been like 7 days. I haven't even taken a crap. And it was that culture shock that affects your body.
All I know is that I was 17 years old, and every day since I probably turned 13, I woke up with a boner. The day boot camp started, that all quit. And then they say rumors of saltpeter. Man, my dick was too scared to work. That was the last thing it thought about. But Fierce, blonde-headed kid. I think he was from Illinois, Iowa, something like that. And he was wet in the bed. And so they had the fire watches. I don't want to say every hour. That seems kind of excessive. But they had the fire watches. They had to wake them up every couple hours to use the restroom. So, I mean, the guys are not the DIs are not politically correct at all. So Sergeant Summers in his tone-low voice, okay, Brives, whoever's on fire watch, why don't you make sure you wake up old Pierce? He goes, I want to keep my sheets white, you understand? No mercy, they were ruthless.
Yeah, nowadays they got to be a little bit more politically correct with the way society is and stuff. But back then, man, it was on. It was on. They could insult you. They could say whatever they want. It does not matter. Like we mentioned in our previous video, we had Holman, right? Holman, when Sergeant Summers saw him for the very first time, stopped and looked at him. He's standing there in his skivvies, which is your underwear, just underwear and flip-flops. And he looks at him, and he was tall and skinny. He's like,
big head.
Yeah, long arms, big head, red chest. Who the fuck are you, E.T.'s big brother? That was some of the funniest stuff I've ever heard.
And then Clumpers. You look like a fucking beach ball with lips. I mean, you can't make this shit up. I mean, it's hilarious.
Yeah. I'm sure they don't do a lot of that stuff anymore, but man, I tell you what, this some good times, good memories looking back on. You know, Flores, another one that's on Facebook with us.
What's up, Marcus?
He was one of a secretary like me, and I've told this story. He's actually forgotten about this, but there was a time where the whole platoon found out that we had a 5-mile beach run. And Flores and I would know exactly what we were doing on any given day at any given time because we made the T cards, which were the training cards. And the drill instructors would take these little 3x5 index cards and they put them up inside right here inside their smoky. So they'd take their smoky off and look at it, see where they had to go throughout the day. Flores and I knew exactly what we were doing no matter what. I could look 3 weeks in advance. It doesn't matter. I had the entire schedule for the entire boot camp.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we did. We had a binder that showed exactly what we did every single day at every minute throughout the day. The entire boot camp, every day. So somehow somebody found out that we were doing this 5-mile beach run. We're not supposed to tell any of the other recruits what we're doing because you don't want somebody thinking they don't want to do it, so they're going to fake an injury and get out of it or anything like that. Yeah. So we kept it quiet. All I know is I didn't say anything. Flores said he didn't say anything. But we ended up getting thrashed bad. And I'm pissed off. I'm like, well, if I didn't say anything, Flores must have said something. I know today he didn't, but later on during mess and maintenance, we're sitting there, and he and I are the only two back at the barracks because we have to stay there to watch the barracks, and we're doing a whole bunch of extra stuff for the drill instructors while everybody else is doing either maintenance on Camp Pendleton or they're in the mess hall working in the chow hall, making meals, washing dishes and stuff. So we actually, I think, had it better than everybody. And we have to go into the duty hut. Pound on the hatch 3 times, announce yourself, don't hear an answer, go in there, there's no drill instructor. I'm like, cool. I forget what we were looking for. We were looking for some supplies. Flores comes in, and I open up a drawer. The story we had yesterday about Aaron's with all those cookies and banana chips and potato, all that stuff, there was still stuff left over at this point in time. And I looked, saw a big package of cookies, and I was like, hey, Flores, look, I'm eating some cookies. He's like, oh my God. Now, our platoon wasn't allowed to eat desserts, have any of that. Even our MREs, we had to turn in the dessert.
Well, you know what? I did manage that chocolate nut cake.
Yeah, you remember Cameron? He and I actually made sure that we woke up one night, had Firewatch.
David Cameron.
Yeah, and we split one of those chocolate nut cakes.
The MREs, and I still remember the meatballs and barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
That was the good one. You got the meatballs and barbecue sauce with the chocolate nut cake. That was the home run. That was the shit.
I liked it.
And if you had the styrofoam pork patty with applesauce.
I love the pork patty.
It was fucking styrofoam. It was. It would float in water.
Yeah, the dehydrated pork patty and dehydrated beef patty, for me, that was the bomb. A lot of people thought that chicken a la king was the bomb. I couldn't stand that shit. It was like baby puke.
Meatballs and barbecue sauce were the shit.
Okay, yeah. And the tuna, I hated the tuna because it had mushrooms all in it. No, I didn't like that shit at all. But back to Flores, we're sitting there and we're eating cookies. And in the other drawer I open up, I see a disposable camera. So I get it out and I go, hey, Flores. And he turns around, he's got a cookie in his mouth. I go, click. And he's going, what the fuck, man? I said, you better hope to God that the drill instructors don't develop that film before we graduate and they see you eating that cookie. Because at the time I thought Flores said something, but come to find out, he never once told everybody that we were doing that 5-mile run. Somebody got that book and found out. But yeah, they never found out. They never saw it until afterwards. But I would love to have been a fly on the wall when whoever owned that camera opened it up, got it developed, and then saw that picture after we graduated.
Do you remember, I think his name was Arevalo? Arevalo or Arredondo, but he was prior service Army. And if you're watching this, if you Google 3058 and you see this on YouTube, hi, what's up? Anyway, he was prior service Army and he was a cook. And they didn't, apparently at the time, they didn't let you make lateral moves in the Army. So he had to go through boot camp all over again. I think he was 27, and he graduated with this whole fruit salad, which means like rows upon rows of ribbons. Okay, the little colored ribbons people wear on their their chest. Well, the Army's really generous and the Marine Corps is really stingy. So he had like 3 rows of ribbons. So we're getting ready for graduation. And our series chief drill instructor, they're coming in there and he's looking over everybody, and he has, you're not allowed to wear your ribbons until graduation. So if you're prior service or whatever, you can't wear shit until graduation. So he had all his ribbons on. And they're asking him what each ribbon was for. So he had the Army Commendation Medal. So he goes, how'd you get that? How'd you get that? And all the DIs are standing around him. He's standing at attention, having to explain how he earned each medal. So he got the Army Commendation Medal. He put a fire out in the chow hall. And upon further digging, the stove caught on fire. He went and grabbed a fire extinguisher and put out the fire, and they gave him a ribbon for it. Medal. Yeah, Army Commendation Medal.
Wow.
So those DIs, he told them that. I mean, they were just laughing their asses off. It was like, because honestly, and I'm not, if you're Army listening to this, no offense, but you're not us. I mean, not being rude, but just being honest, right? If you're anybody else, you're just not. There's a reason we're the Marines and you're not.
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, all respect towards you and everything. I mean, you're out there on the battlefield like us. We're all on the same team, but Army stands for aren't really Marines yet. So.
Yeah, that's true. Navy. Love you guys. Dad was a Navy guy, but you know what? The little Dixie cup. Sorry, no offense. It just, just kind of emasculates me just looking at it. I'm just messing with you, sort of. Do you remember Jerry Morris?
Yes.
Jerry Morris was my bunkie. I don't remember who. I think I got on top. He had bottom.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, that does sound weird. I say that because I think I ended up placing my foot wrong, and getting up in the middle of the night to pee, and I think I stepped in his midsection. Anyway, we were allowed the kip on our pull-ups back then, which is kicking your legs. It's cheating. They don't allow it anymore. But it takes, not everybody gets, catches on to it immediately. It kind of coordinates your upper and lower body.
It's a rhythm that you do.
And so anyway, he's trying to learn how to do kipping pull-ups. And Sergeant Summers again, shocker, he goes, just like fucking, boy. Just like fucking. The same rhythm, just like fucking. He goes, yeah, fuck before, right? Sir, no, sir. Private's a virgin. Which brings us to virgin number 2, Ensminger.
Okay.
Hope you're looking at this. What's up? We weren't in the same platoon, but he's got a story to tell.
So Ensminger was in a different platoon than us. It was one of our sister platoons.
And he kind of talked like this. And he was like, platoon, I-10, hut.
Because they made him the guide for a little bit.
Guide's like your honor graduate, by the way. He's the one that gets the free dress blues and everything. So anyway, go on.
Yeah. Now, if you're the guide, there's one of 2 reasons why you're the guide. The drill instructors are either messing with you, or
you're a stud.
Yeah, you're a stud, and they're putting you as a guide because they want to see your leadership. Most of the time, you have a variety of guides before they figure it out. With us, we had one guide, as far as I remember.
We had one in processing, Bratsburg, and that came and went, and then Stephen
Gephardt took it the whole way.
He was a full-blown stud.
Yeah, he was a badass. And he was perfect for the guide. Ensminger, in the meantime,
Stephen B. Gephardt, we remember you. Go ahead.
We wish you'd join us on Facebook. We've been trying to find you.
But honestly, your parent, Stephen B. Gephardt, I'm sorry, there's a million in the Northern Cal area. I looked you up. Anyway, go on.
So Ensminger ends up, from my understanding, riding back home to his sister and his parents. Like all of us, he's writing, talking about boot camp. But he's telling his sister and his parents, boot camp, we go to bed like 03. They come and they wake us up an hour and a half later. If we do one thing wrong, all the drill instructors are punching us. They're coming over, they're beating the crap out of us. So his sister's freaking out, going, they're not allowed to do that. She goes to the parents are like, they shouldn't be able to do that. he keeps all these stories up because he wants to look, like a badass. His parents got so upset over what they were being told that they called their congressman. The congressman actually had people come in to investigate and interview people to find out if they were being physically abused or abused in any way, lack of sleep and so forth. I was like, we get a lack of sleep no matter what. But regardless, this guy, they had made the guide for a week after this because they were so pissed off at him for making up all these lies about what was going on. And there was, like I said, an actual investigation where they were interviewing a lot of the privates, and not only that platoon, but some of the other platoons as well, because they thought that the abuse was running amok. I thought that was great. I'm surprised he even graduated.
Yeah, I remember him, but he was like one of the most well-known virgins. You had to see this guy. I mean, he was a hot mess. What was his name? Let me think. Can't remember. Arredondo.
Okay.
We had. He was a late pickup, and I think we picked him up in late second phase or early second phase, and his hair had grown out, so you could tell he had, been recycled, which means that you failed something and along the way, and you got sent to another platoon. You got held back, so he had a longer hair on top. That's how you can tell people have been there a long time, relatively speaking. So we were in maintenance. Now, if you win the rifle range in phase 2, you get to do maintenance instead of mess duty, and that's huge because you don't have to get up at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning and get to the chow hall. You don't get done at 8 o'clock at night, so it's a pretty good deal actually. But it was busy work. So on this particular day, we were at Edson Range in Camp Pendleton, and they needed manure spread on a football field. And it was a crazy windy day. So they gave us burlap bags, and there was this pile. It was a pile of shit, and somebody's sitting there scooping the pile of shit into these burlap bags, and we're spreading shit all over the field. So windy day. So this particular person I'm talking about, he had really buck crooked teeth, and that wind's blowing that shit everywhere. I mean, it was really disgusting when you think about it. We were sweaty, we were hot. When we got done, his teeth were brown. That manure dust, and they were crooked, and they were bucked, and they were sticking out. He had these crooked ass brown teeth full of shit. And with the birth control glasses, and he had almost had a brush cut. The top of his hair growing out so long. I'll never forget that stuff. I mean, they took us into the cafeteria at Edson Range, and there's always a corporal who has mess duty, and his job is to check your ID and make sure it's legit and send you into the proper line. The chow hall NCOs go one direction, officers go another, get waited on. I believe, if I remember, serves me correct, and enlisted, you just wait in line. If you're private through Lance Corporal, you just wait in line. But anyway, we walk in there. There was shit, dried up shit everywhere, like on our camis, and again in this guy's teeth. And that corporal looked at him and like, what the fuck? So he goes to the drone sergeant, you can't bring him in here like that. So there was a discussion. They had a little powwow, and they sent us back outside. And right before the chow hall closed, they let us in. And they let us eat. We were so disgusted. It was absolutely disgusting. You remember the gas chamber?
Yeah.
What do you remember most about the gas chamber?
I had snot running everywhere. It was going from my nose all the way down to the ground as I bent over, and I just couldn't stop it.
Yeah, you will have to do the third phase. You'll have to do the gas chamber. It's CS gas, releasing a Quonset HUD, and you have to don and clear your gas mask. My whole thing was not to panic. Everybody told me if you panic, you'll accidentally suck in some gas, and that basically your lungs don't allow it in there. So if you're trying to breathe and you try to suck it in there, your lungs say hell no, and you're sucking for air, and you're headed for the door. So we only had one dude head for the door. I've kind of rehearsed it a million times what I was going to do. So they had to take off our gas mask, and your eyes start burning, your nose starts burning, lips start burning. and they're not going to do that. I spoke with everybody from every phase that I came in contact with. They tell me the same story, so I knew it was going to be about a minute. So I'm holding my breath, and of course, snot's everywhere. And they tell us to don and clear the mask. So you put the mask on, you cover up the ports, you blow out the bad air, and then you're left with the good air. And we walk out, and there's people with snot hanging down to their nose, and I'd had a chest cold for weeks, and instantly every drop of mucus in my lungs was now on the front of me. My cold was gone. I do it.
Yeah.
I'm the only one I felt so good after that gas chamber.
Yeah, that'll definitely do it. Years later, and this is a little bit different, but years later, a buddy of mine that I worked with at a prison, he was also a Marine. We went to Corrections Officers Academy. They took us in this enclosed room. It was actually a maintenance garage, but enclosed. Everybody had to stand in a big circle, and they dropped a grenade of CS gas right in the middle of us. We had to do the alphabet. And we did the alphabet. We got done. We opened up our eyes, and his name's Dean Caldwell. He and I were standing there, and everybody else was gone. We were still just standing there. It wasn't bothering us like it bothered everybody else. Pepper spray, that's completely different.
Never done that.
You don't want to.
Hey, tell them about early on the parade deck. Yeah?
So, we're out on the parade deck.
Now, first off, explain what a rock is.
A rock is somebody that's stupid,
Okay,
basically.
yeah. And so, if you have no excuse, or if you do something dumb, you're prompted to say, "Sir, private's a rock, sir."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's self-admission, or they call you a rock. They're telling you you're dumb, you're stupid, because you did something. You did something. It doesn't mean you're completely stupid.
But early, if you're listening to this, no offense, but you earned it. Much like I earned shitting in my pants during the PFT. You own this one. Don't hate. Anyway, go on.
So we're on the parade deck. The parade deck is this huge asphalt area.